Hey everyone, my name is Brian Howard. I'm a Calgary realtor who has sold an average of a house a week since moving to this great city in 2003. And this is Calgary Living. I'm interviewing Calgary's top performers as it relates to living and lifestyle in our great city. Some of the podcasts will be real estate decision specific, but most will be about life in Calgary and why we choose to live here, or at least why you should visit. Thanks for tuning in.
I had a fun chat recently with Felix Rook. Felix is a Ironman triathlete, currently training for a triathlon in Spain in 2021. Yes, getting prepared. He's got, I think, 3 events planned that are shorter in length for the summer of 2020. His goal race coming up in 2021. Felix has a business, Essentials for Health. Live life well. He does information, coaching, encouragement, empowerment with the strength of holistic nutrition. He's a real strong interest in nutrition and health, more from the ketogenic perspective. That's really what brought him down the road while training for an Ironman back, I think his first one in 2014. He's a personal certified trainer, also an ergonomic evaluator with Shaw Communications. This was a fun conversation with Felix. I hope you get some insights and enjoy as much as I enjoyed meeting and chatting with Felix. Enjoy the show. Felix, thank you so much for being a guest on the show tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me along. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure to talk to you. We originally met, I think, probably in 2015 or 2016 through, I guess, really the Repsol Triathlon Club.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. It seems like quite a while ago now.
Felix, what brought us together a little bit was the training for triathlon, but more that time, what seemed new to me, and maybe it was or maybe it wasn't, but both our interest in the ketogenic diet and how you've, I think, really gone with that, and more how I haven't. Is that right? Is that kind of what connected us in the originally?
Yes, I think there were some discussions on nutrition, as there always is in training groups when people get together for sport and etc. And people have varying ideas and choices to make. And I think at that time, myself following a ketogenic diet was really going out on a bit of a limb for a lot of people. And there was lots of wagging fingers and shaking heads at all of the fat that I was going to be consuming.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I want to get into that. But before we get into that, Felix, I kind of had some ideas about, you and what you do and stuff. But I just actually really more recently, I learned a little bit more. You've been in Calgary, I guess, for about 18 years. And currently you're working for Shaw as a certified office ergonomic evaluator, as well as you have your own holistic nutritional consultant business and you're a certified personal trainer. Am I getting this right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a bit of a departure from what I originally came over doing, but
Right.
Sometimes you have to reinvent yourself along the way.
That is very cool. And when I called you recently and I got your great voice message introducing your business, which is called Essentials for Health, that's correct?
That's correct.
I was like, hey, Felix, what is this all about? And as I look more into it, I see that you're helping people regain health through a holistic, whole foods and lifestyle approach. And you're specializing in low carb and ketogenic eating.
You got it. That's it. It.
And then as I dug in more, I found out that you came from England and you were trained as a professional ceramic sculptor working in the family business, Bernard Rook Pottery.
That's correct.
Well, very interesting. So, Felix, just getting kind of right into it, how did you happen to come to Calgary 18 years ago? I guess we're looking at 2001? Is that when it happened?
It'll actually be February the 2nd, 2002 was when I arrived on a very snowy night in Calgary. And it was an opportunity for a fresh start. I'd sent out a portfolio of pictures to various ceramic places in Calgary and Vancouver, and knew that wanted to be somewhere close to the mountains, and ended up landing a job in Calgary. So
Oh.
landed in Calgary and have never left.
And you came here to do ceramics? Is that?
That's correct. Yes. It was a local company producing ceramics, needed somebody to help with their production facility. And they kept the job open for me for a year. I went through the full HRDC approval process with the government of Canada, et cetera, et cetera. That was lots of hoops to jump through there. But in the end, landed in Calgary with a job ready to go.
Interesting. And so I always find it kind of interesting and intriguing when a fellow like yourself coming from like anywhere in the world, I mean, I assume the world is your oyster or your canvas. And how did you happen to choose Canada and Calgary? And like why the leaving, home and the family business? It sounds like I was curious in those kind of choices.
Yeah, it's growth, personal growth, I think would be a great way of describing it. And sometimes you have to look outside of your world to find what you're looking for. And it was an opportunity to really branch out and try and express myself for who I am and plow my own road, as it were. So, and Calgary was the choice between Vancouver and Calgary. It was really being close to the mountains to take part in skiing and all of the fun activities that when you're living in England and you look across at the other parts of the world, you go, wow, they live like that, really. Ran a couple of ski vacations here, and the mind was made up, and it seemed like a really awesome opportunity and a great choice in the end.
Well, neat. So getting kind of into the the real estate of Calgary a little bit and some of the decisions that you've made and like what's happened. Can you tell us a little bit about where you landed and where you lived and how you happened to pick that place and maybe some of your real estate moves since that time?
Yeah, it's interesting, really, when you come from another country and you land here and you've done as much research as you can, but then you land here and you see how it really is and the differences between your home country and your new country of choice. And we ended up in Shaughnessy, and so that would have been 2002. The train ran right outside of our condo. There wasn't a station down there at that time, and it was a very far away choice compared to the downtown. And hindsight being what it is, probably would have been better off buying a condo closer to the downtown core right from the get-go. But Shaughnessy was a great starting point, and eventually we did end up moving closer to the downtown.
Okay, very good. And so Shaughnessy, so you moved here, and did you buy right away or did you rent for a while first?
We bought right away. We came with a pocket full of money. We're from selling a house in the UK, which is an entirely different process than here. And we bought a condo to try and settle down in. And we ended up actually driving past a house that was on 12th Ave, close to 14th Street, and it was for sale. It was absolutely a fixer-upper. It was when we bought it, we turned out to only be the third owners of this 1912 house.
Wow!
And that was the move to go from the suburbs to closer to the downtown core.
Is that where you are now?
No, now I live in Guadalupe.
Oh, you're in Guadalupe. Well, so am I. And so you bought the I wanted to say Southwood, but the first home was in
Shaughnessy
condo, and that was 2001, and then you moved to the 1912 home in the Beltline.
Yeah.
In what year was that roughly?
So that would have been, so Shaughnessy was 2002, so it would have been a couple of years after that. So 2004, thereabouts.
Oh, so just before the boom.
It was interesting because the price was crazy. I can remember now it was $189,000 for that house, which is just, you scratch your head when you think about it 20 years later or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely house. I did a a pretty major reno on it, which was interesting. You learn a lot. I've always been a fabricator and worked with my hands, or at least the first part of my life, and so I wasn't too worried about doing major renos. And it was nice to be able to get some of that sweat equity into the property.
Wow. That's incredible that you were able to buy that in 2004 for 189. And then what was your next property? Was your next property Myrtle Loop, or was there something between them?
No, life, it's the great life story, separations and dividing of the assets.
Right.
That kind, life has a way of dealing you these blows sometimes, whatever. So I downsized from that point and ended up in Mission.
Okay.
So still close to the downtown. Ended up picking up a condo in Mission and living there for a good number of years until moving here to Myrtle Loop with my wife.
And are you in a condo now or a house in Myrtle Loop?
No, we're in a house. We were able to pick up a really nice duplex, half a duplex, and very happy.
Neat. So you're in a newer infill than in Myrtle Loop. Lots of that building going on there.
It's actually one of the older. It's one of the older duplexes.
So it can't be any older than like mid 90s or maybe even early 90s.
Oh no, it's 1971, I think, something like that.
One of the first then. Wow, that is really interesting. Good for you.
And what's really awesome about the house is the person that we bought it from. He was a general contractor, and he owned both sides of it at one point of this duplex. So he renovated one side, lived in that, sold it, moved to the other side, and 10 years later decided to renovate this side that we bought. And we walked in, and I was prepared to do another fixer-upper, and but we walked into this one and we looked at it and we were like, wow, this is done as it could be done. And we scraped it together to say, okay, we'll push the boat out and we'll pick something up that we don't have to work on.
Good for you. That's neat. Cool. Tell me, Felix, what is it that you like about Calgary or love most about Calgary? And similarly, maybe in the kind of the same breath, what don't you like about Calgary?
I don't like minus 35.
We're out of that from last week. Yes.
I love Calgary for so many aspects of it. It's a growing city in so many regards. Culturally, it's growing. Just the cycle path network, everything about it. The food is growing. It's a playground for outdoor lovers. I mean, if you enjoy getting out and doing stuff, this is really, there's fewer places can be better than this. The longest cycle pathway system, I think, of any Canadian city. You can really lose yourself on those pathways on a bike and just go for a whole day and not even leave the city. So the outdoor aspect of it is a huge draw. The food and the restaurants, that's a really nice addition to the city over the last 20 years, how things have changed there. And its proximity to travel. I think you can fly out of here.
With our beautiful international airport. And what about the boom bust economy of Calgary? How do you cope with that?
Now that's definitely something that it's pretty shocking when you come from something that isn't so obviously geared towards oil and gas as the UK is. You come over here and you hear the stories of boom and bust and people leaving their keys on and what have you, just leaving the city with the door open. And you think, nah, that can't be right. But yeah, I believe it now, having gone through a few periods, cycles of that, and it's pretty scary. The condo that I had in Mission, as an example, I can remember it would have been 2007, 2008 period where that condo was priced at £250,000, $250,000, sorry, Freudians there. From a boom time, and now it's not even going to reach $200,000 a number of years later. So those cycles are pretty horrific to go through, to be honest.
Right. I see it like affecting families like all the time. they bought, for example, in that boom of 2007, or, and tried to, or had to sell due to funny financing in 2009 or 10 or 11. Or similarly, if they bought in 2013, 14, this is our last high, and they're, having to sell today. It plays havoc. Just on that note, you're working for, it's Shaw Communications as a
Correct.
ergonomic specialist. I've never tell of this kind of position. How did you go from becoming, brought to Calgary for the ceramic business, which I've never heard tell of either, to going into ergonomics? I'm curious.
It's a very it's a journey that is it's been a painful journey at some point, reinventing yourself. So post ceramics employment, it was a case of trying to find any job that was offered. You're trying to start afresh in a new country and trying to find a way to utilize the skills that you've got. But if you're a ceramic sculptor, your window of opportunity is pretty small. So I ended up actually starting a business and being employed as a mold maker for a company. So this is going to be a roundabout way to answer your question. So I was working in a props company, met a couple of friends. We decided to start a business called Replicate Designs of our own, building architectural models. I utilized my ceramic sculpting skills, just with a different medium. My other partners had their sets of skills that they brought to the table, and we had this business, and we ran through the boom and bust that you were talking about with real estate. Mm-hmm. And we're building architectural models. So very, very much a finger on the pulse of that industry, going through those cycles. And in the end, I had to reinvent myself yet again. The cycle was just a little bit too much after 8 years of that. Right. And just by happenstance, ended up working at Shaw Communications on a contract, just by chance. And it went from 6 weeks to what it is now, 7 years.
Wow.
So, I've recently, in the last year or so, certified for the ergonomics, and then got the opportunity to take on that portfolio.
Very neat. In sort of the last 7 years, you've been kind of on that. And then we kind of started to, know of each other and maybe see each other a little bit, maybe 2015, 2016, if that's because 4 or 5 years ago. And tell me how, in terms of getting into the triathlon and, like I said, there's a Talisman at that time, Repsol Sports Center. How did that happen for you? And when did it happen? Have you been an athlete your whole life, or?
Yeah, I guess as a kid, certainly growing up in England, you play a lot of football.
Right.
So I was always playing football, rugby and cricket. They were really passionate sports for me. And then coming over here and life getting in the way, you kind of lose your way. I think I'd be typical of a number of listeners, perhaps, that life gets in the way and you lose the passion for sport, and life just takes over. And after my 8 years of Replicate Designs, I was definitely in the need of finding what I was missing, because I'd been working myself to the ground. Realized I needed to get back into sport. That was the thing that I'd given up the most in order to live a different life. So getting back into health and wellness started by joining the Talisman. I'd heard of this crazy sport called triathlon and figured, well, that looks difficult. Why not give that a shot and see what happens? So, I'm a bit of a glutton for pain and punishment, I think, but it's turned into a true love affair of health and wellness and sport now.
That is great. So what year would that have been that you just sort of said, okay, let's get back to something that, I did as a child and I love, and like, what do you have a rough memory of maybe?
Yeah.
And was the trigger on that joining the sort of the Talisman Repsol Center and then just starting? Like, is that how it happened?
I quit smoking at 40, so 11 years ago, and I did the first Ride to Conquer Cancer. It was a case of put your money where your mouth is, and I wanted to make some changes. So I decided, okay, I loved riding a bike as a kid, and And I went back to that as an adult, and hence discovering all the pathway systems around Calgary on a bike, and then living in Mission, I was so close to the Talisman. It was just an easy walk across, and I gave up unhealthy lifestyle and many of the attributing factors that brings along, and decided to smarten out, and
There you go.
that's what led me down the path. And since then, it's 11 years of quitting smoking, and it's been a progression of delving deeper and deeper into health and wellness. Initially it was just the love of playing sport again. Now I'm really interested in the actual what makes us move, what actually fuels us in the end.
Yes, I remember having discussions with you back in like 2016 about, diet. And, you seem to have like just some sort of innate knowledge and, real keen interest and ability to share and encourage.
Well, hey, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you remember your first triathlon or what it was? Can you share with us?
It would have been 2010.
Mhm.
That year I'd trained from the September through until the June. It would have been Wassail Lake in 2010, and I had races booked in June and July and August. So I did
Wow, you're like a real,
Wassail. Uh,
like you're like I'm going to do a triathlon, start training in September through the Calgary winter, and had your schedule. That is so type A personality.
I'm very goal oriented. I like to set targets. If I don't have a target, then I'll just lay on the couch with my feet up and just pick up a pen and a piece of paper and start sketching. If I have a target, then I will go for it. So yeah, I raced Wasser, then Canmore, and then Kelowna. Now that was a trip to drive to Kelowna with the bike on the roof of the car and to experience the jaw-dropping lakes and the temperatures and the scenery. Everything about that was, and not to mention swimming in warm water, was quite the thing.
Well, that is so cool. I could totally be like, I mean, to be driving to Kelowna, this whatever 8-ish hour drive to go race.
Yeah, yeah.
That is so fun, eh?
And you tell your English friends that they say, "What did you do last weekend?" Well, I just drove to where such and such place, and they go, "Yeah, how far is that?" Well, I drove for about 8 or 9 hours, and you're absolutely nuts. So
Right.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's definitely not something that comes easy to Brits, is driving for hours at a time.
That's neat. And so you got hooked, and that was, I assume those you said Wassa, Canmore, and Kelowna. I'm
Yeah.
curious, which Canmore one would you have done? Would it have been the off-road triathlon?
No, it wasn't. It was one, God, I'm trying to think what it might have been called. The bike, we swam in the pond. It's just below the reservoir pond. It's low down.
I know, and I can't even think
And
of
I
the
can't
name.
think of
And
the name of
I've
it.
swum in it many times as well.
And the ride was up and down that beautiful bit of highway that's
Right.
just off the highway. So there were
Yeah.
several laps of that. And then the run was around the Nordic Center.
Right. Okay. So it's they still run that triathlon today, and at the same weekend, I think, as the off-road triathlon. The
Right.
Good. Cool.
And I capped off that 2010 year with the inaugural BAM triathlon.
Oh, and the water was freezing cold in September.
Yeah, that was something else. That was that I should have, if I'd have realized, how pivotal that event was, I guess, or I would have probably taken that T-shirt and framed it rather than
Right.
using it up in subsequent years. But yeah, that was quite simple.
I never did that one in Banff, and the only reason is I thought, oh, I can do this anytime. But of course, that doesn't happen. Do you know why that triathlon was shut down fairly quickly?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what the true reason is.
I've been bike racing on races out of Banff, and the bike races would get shut down because bears might be in the area, and so I imagine it's something to do like it's disturbing wildlife or something.
And not to mention the fact that the water was just the most. That was the the scariest I've never been so scared in water in all my life, other than that swim. It was
was
the
that
most
cold.
and it was quite funny. I really psyched myself up. I was prepared for the race, and it was the last one of the season. I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a really good shot here. And I got in the water. I'd warmed up as best you can in those conditions. It was sleeting at the time, and the gun went off, and I got in the water and got going. I had my face in the water, and I was plowing through quite happily. I probably swam for a good 90 seconds, and I thought, I'm just going to pop up and have a look just to see where I'm at, And I look, and I'm probably in the first third of the swimmers, and I'm thinking, God, this is fantastic. This is uncharted territory for me.
Right.
And I turn around, put my face back in the water, and my heart rate explodes, and a full-blown panic attack. And from that moment on, I couldn't put my face anywhere near the water. And I just had to swim from kayak to kayak, and every single person swam past me.
So my God, that would be so scary. Yeah.
I was so scared. We got to a kayak, and I'm huffing and puffing, and I look around, and there's 3 other guys on each corner. And we're looking up at this lady in the kayak, and she's just got this grin on her face that says, "You guys are crazy. I don't know why you're even in this. This is nuts." And we're all looking at each other. We're all huffing and puffing, and there's these nods going around as we look at each other going, are we ready to do this? Are we crazy? Why are we here? It was something else. But I managed to get around the swim. I think it was by far the longest swim I've ever had. And yeah, that was quite something.
Wow, I can just sort of relate, as a fellow triathlete, and swimming, and like that fine line between, holy smokes, am I like gonna die, or like can I just keep going and then think calm thoughts and then like being fine? And I've always been on the end of that. Okay, just keep the calm thoughts, but so close to like just for whatever reason freaking out and wondering, am I going to die? Am I drowning? Am I drowning?
Yeah. It's
understand.
Definitely, that's I think for a lot of people, that's the biggest fear, is jumping in the water. So yeah.
So I'm curious that then 2010, you did 4 triathlons, well planned and scheduled and trained for basically, a year for the last one in Banff, which is very interesting to me, not at all how I approached the sport. Then when was your first Ironman? I know you've done at least a couple.
Yeah, I've done 2. 2014 was the Ironman Arizona. Calgary seems to be a Calgary favorite for a lot of the tri clubs. People heading down there for that late season flat, fast race. Nobody mentioned the fact that it can be pretty windy down there. And 2014 was that was a tough ride out on the Beeline Highway. There was some pretty heavy winds coming down, and you couldn't make it up on the homeward leg. So doing 3 laps of that was pretty crushing. But
Wow.
Yeah, 2014, that was the first one. And then 2016 was Ironman Barcelona.
Oh, it was Ironman Barcelona. And what month was Ironman Barcelona?
So that was October. It was very early October. I think it was October the 2nd, if I remember rightly. And I was able to get Ironman Barcelona by marrying my wife and saying, "Do you fancy a honeymoon in Spain?" And she said, "Yeah, no, I love a honeymoon in Spain. That'd be fantastic." So this is perfect. There's an Ironman in Barcelona. So
great.
That's how I sold it.
Nice. Well done. And you're planning to do that again, I think, in 2021.
Hoping to go back to Spain and going on the other side, more northern central, and doing Vitoria-Gasteiz, which got added to the calendar in 2019. It's been a full distance race for a number of years, but Ironman picked up the rights to it last year, and my wife and I just love Spain and love the wine and love the food and the culture and all of that. So a great opportunity to go somewhere for a really nice vacation, and I get to race.
Nice. That's awesome. So going back to
sort of 2014-ish, your first Ironman Arizona. I mean, obviously that's when you started to really dig into, like, as you're training and preparing for that, that's when you probably started to really dig into nutrition and such things. And then I know that our communication through Facebook Messenger started in 2016, where I was seeking out kind of your thoughts and opinions and experience with the ketogenic diet. When did you start down the ketogenic road, which I know I would say that you're probably an expert at right now?
Well, it was post 2014, post Ironman. I figured I was in the best shape of my life at that time, and um, went on spring break vacation in early 2015, and I'd picked up a book at a secondhand bookstore um, called Sweet Poison.
Mhm.
It had a picture of a donut with sprinkles on it on the cover, and I was curious because post Ironman you have that little slowdown, and you tend to eat a little bit more than you would do. You're carrying on with the same sort of nutrition program with half the training, but it bugged me that I put on weight so rapidly. And I wondered why. What was the reason why? Because I was doing everything that the magazines was telling me,
Mhm.
and it just didn't seem to make sense. And this one book sparked a bit of an interest in me, and I read the book. And then I started looking up the author's name, and that name led me to other people in the low carb ketogenic sphere back then in 2014, 2015, early on. And the more I read, the more I wanted to read, and it just started to make perfect sense. And I started making changes to my own diet and my own habits, and
Mm.
found incredible changes really quite rapidly. And haven't looked back. It's just been this endless learning experience to follow.
Neat. In 2016, as I was driving from Calgary to Penticton for the ITU long course, Canadian Championships, we had some communication. I can tell by Facebook Messenger, and I had in January of 2016, I had thought, okay, I had heard somehow, maybe through Peter Attia or something
Mhm.
on ketogenic. So I was following most of that year the ketogenic diet. I was going to that race pretty ready and fit, but had a very stressful week leading up to it. And then I left Calgary late, and I hadn't really thought much about my race nutrition on a ketogenic sort of diet. And I remember having some communication with you, and then and you were like encouraging. I remember asking you, like, what should I eat on the bike? And I think on our messaging, and in the end, I sort of panicked about 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday night before the Sunday race, and ran into actually the bike barn just as it was closing, and bought a bunch of my regular nutrition, which
Mhm.
happens to be, whatever it is, it doesn't even matter. But so I gave ketogenic a try, but I have never been committed to it. And but
Yeah.
it's been working for you, and you've been sort of committed to it. Is that?
Yeah. I when I first started to change, I had no idea what a sugar addict I was until I really started looking into it and started pulling out elements of my diet that I was relying on. And I decided that I would go low carb and paleo and try that. And I figured as long as it didn't affect my performance, I would just make these alterations. And I kept researching it and getting blood works done by my doctor. And I'm sure they were sick of the sight of me in the end. And finally, at about the August time, it was coming to the off season. I didn't have any more racing to do in 2015. So I decided to go full on and cut out the last little bits and pieces. And it was pretty straightforward, but uh, I found that the major effect it had on me was it reduced my amount of inflammation, and it meant that I didn't get injured as much. I was able to maintain a healthy body seemingly without any issues. I didn't get colds, I didn't get sick. And I was able to keep my training at a very, very consistent level. That was a major benefit for me.
Interesting. And it's great. And then you did your first Ironman on ketogenic in 2016, I guess. And
Correct. Yeah. Barcelona, it was fully fat adapted, and it was. I know. I mean, an Ironman is an Ironman. You get to the second half of the run, and all bets are off
Mm.
when it comes to that. And I'll admit that there were pieces of banana that were pretty damn tasty. At kilometer 30. So um, the idea is that you don't have to divert blood from the muscles to the stomach to digest a whole bunch of food. If you're fat adapted and you can train more efficiently and you can run the body more efficiently, then you can fuel with what you have on your own person, and you don't have to take in anywhere near the amount of secondary calories. So it is just a lot easier. I mean, how many people do you know have GI issues halfway through an Ironman? I mean, it's so commonplace to
Lots.
see people running to a portaloo or bent double on the run in the hedge. And that's part of the issue of forcing all of those gels and bars down you
Mhm.
and jiggling it up and down.
Right. Exactly. Interesting. And so, since I assume sometime after that first Ironman of 2016, or no, second, I guess, second, you then went back to school. You studied at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition.
Correct. Yeah. It had got to the point where I was so fascinated by how food can be so beneficial in so many ways and regain health. So uh, from Ironman, Arizona, I weighed in at 177 pounds, and I figured that was just amazing to be under 180 pounds. I couldn't believe it. When I jumped on the scales before Barcelona, I was 162 pounds.
Wow, that's wild.
So it's quite the difference.
Yeah.
And it's it's so much easier to run when you. So just the fascination with those elements, I was forced to have no choice but to take it to another level, which is go back to school, and try and professionally, learn, get a qualification professionally, and help other people. It was so empowering to me, um, going through this journey for myself, that I wanted to share it. And as I was improving my own health, I had people constantly coming up to me and asking me what I was doing. They could see the difference, and I was, helping people with advice, if you like, based on books that I was reading and what have you. But I wanted to get some formal education so I could kind of rubber stamp it and say, yeah, this is actually what I do. This is what I love doing. So that led me back to school.
And tell me that, and then eventually at the same time during that, you became a certified personal trainer for sort of fitness and strength.
Yeah, I'd really just trying to add pieces to the ultimate sort of combination to be a health and wellness advisor and coach, and a lifestyle coach would be that personal training element. So being able to advise people on what is the most appropriate diet for that person, no matter what they choose to do in their life. It's not all about athletes. There's a lot of people out there just want to regain their health, and movement is a major part of that. Diet is 80% of the puzzle. Movement practices are that final finishing touch. I figured being a personal trainer, again, it kind of solidifies the credentials, if you like, for being a coach.
Mhm. And then I kind of assume and think, and I'm kind of interested in, this path that you've had with the ergonomic, evaluator. Are you able to marry that a little bit? Again, we spend like 40 hours of our work week in our work offices. You have the
Absolutely,
health and wellness and nutrition, and then strength
absolutely.
and personal fitness. Like, how do you marry all that together? It sounds like a pretty good fit. But
It is. It's a really good fit, and I've been very lucky with working with Shaw, the opportunity to take on the ergonomics portfolio. And I think having an interest in health and wellness, and it's well known company, and so the being a personal trainer, obviously you have a bit of an advantage when it comes to movements and potential issues with posture and just the structure of people and the way they operate for hours at a time. Some of the things that I see in the offices, they look painful, and it turns out that they are painful. But people need education, and that is a major part of what I do. It's trying to educate employees on what is good ergonomic practice, and the company is very willing to help with equipment and such like. So yeah, it's been a really good combination.
That's interesting. Preventative thing, or is it like, oh, my back is sore from working at this desk for the last 3 months?
It's a multifaceted position.
Yeah, I bet.
We have offices right across the country, and so it's ergonomics is a pretty big. It's a piece of a corporation's working life. It's the health and wellness of the individual is, what they can produce in a day is a lot of the times determined by whether or not they're comfortable. It's something as simple as that.
My daughter graduated from University of Victoria with a psych degree, and she has an interest in the working environment and how we increase our productivity. And like what you're doing, the ergonomics evaluations, and that role, that profession, I never even heard tell of it until. I mean, I guess it is a big thing, is it?
It is a big thing. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of organizations out there that are doing similar things. There's ergonomists and there's ergonomic evaluators. There's many different areas to get into, and people sit for a long period of time.
Right.
But just giving somebody a standing desk doesn't necessarily take away all the problems. People can stand for too long. People say, I've got this standing desk. Now I'm fixed. So I am damn well going to stand for as many hours in the day as I can. And that's the wrong approach. You have to educate people as to, how to sit neutrally and how to make movement part of your everyday routine and how to maximize your ability to take those breaks and what you have to do, and getting stuck in one particular position, whether it be standing or sitting, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best.
Wow.
We can have too much of a good thing.
Oh. And similarly, I imagine, like, would light be an important thing, or too much noise, or maybe not enough noise? That's just all. Oh, interesting.
A lot of my my education, self-education, and reading that I really like to get into is some of this ancestral health idea and the amount of extra lighting that we have, and how it affects our circadian rhythms, and sleep deprivation and blue light, and all of these elements that come into what is good for our health, what overall is going to affect our genetic makeup, what's going to affect our brain, what's going to, it's holistic nutrition, ergonomics, personal training. The combination is an endless learning experience. I'm forever reading.
Wow, fascinating. Well, it's great. So tell us a little bit about where you are now in your with the business of your holistic nutrition and certified personal training. Where is that going? And I guess, are you taking clients? How can people, get in touch?
I am taking clients. It's for me, it's a matter of quality over quantity. I have a full-time day job that I'm committed to, but I am taking clients, and I'm looking for people that require health and wellness advice. The website essentialsforhealth.ca is up, and people can contact me there through the email address there, felix@essentialsforhealth.ca. At one point in my life, I was riddled with arthritis, pretty grossly overweight, smoking, drinking too much, stressed out beyond belief, having hernia surgery and all sorts of stuff. So I've turned that around to be able to do a couple of Ironman, but sport is not the answer, but health and wellness is something that should live with us for a long time. And no matter how old you are, you can certainly make positive changes.
It's great. I'm on your website, and it is simple and beautiful. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Felix, sort of coming towards the end of this, well, first off, maybe I'll ask, what advice would you give your younger self?
Uh, don't smoke.
Well, you're fine. I mean, why not? You're fine.
Don't smoke and start saving money when you're 20.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's boring. Tell us something.
Okay.
I'm just joking. No, that's great. Very good. And Felix, why or why not are you staying in Calgary?
Well, I'm staying in Calgary for the opportunities that Calgary still has to offer. I still, as much as I don't like minus 30, Calgary is a terrific city. And heck, we've just had a Chinook that seems to have lasted. I mean, the minus 30 was a distant memory. It's been so nice out just the last few days. So Calgary is home, and I see Calgary being home for the foreseeable future. So it's an outdoor paradise. It's a playground and has some really neat restaurants and places to visit.
Felix, it's been a pleasure getting to know you a little, well, quite a bit better and having this time. Felix, how can people, again, reach out to you? What are the best ways? Are you on Instagram or through your website?
Yes, I am on Instagram, but the website would probably be the best bet. Essentialsforhealth.ca and Felix at essentialsforhealth.ca is my email address. Happy to chat nutrition and food and health and wellness till the cows come home.
Well, that's great. Felix, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being on the show. We'll include all the links in the show notes.
Excellent.
We'll look forward to going for a run or a bike ride from our neighborhood soon.
You bet. I probably won't be able to keep up with you, but I'll be happy to try for the first few meters anyway.
Oh, well, thanks. That was a nice little shot for my ego. Felix, thanks for being a guest on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks very much, Brian.
Well, that was a fun conversation with Felix Rook. Live life well. I think I'm going to go find some fun recipe on the net and cook myself a fat adapted meal inspired by visiting some of Felix's Twitter account and Instagram account. He has a love for cooking and a love for life and helping others live their best nutritional life, as wellness and movement. So to find Felix, essentialsforhealth.ca. Links will be provided in the show notes. He's on Insta with a nice feed at Felix Rook. That's FelixRooke. Thanks for tuning into the show. And until next week, make it great.